Last year alone, the NCAA, or National Collegiate Athletic Association, brought in $871.6 million in revenue from college sports. All of the nearly $1 billion is generated from college athletics and is tax-free due to the NCAA's classification as a nonprofit. The NCAA and the colleges that are a part of it did not have to pay the student athletes to devote so much of their time and resources to their sport. The two highest grossing sports, football and basketball, bring in more than 90% of the total revenue for the NCAA. The brand created by athletes and teams as a whole is used as a marketing tool by these academic institutions. Those in power exploit student athletes using their likeness to create capital for their schools. The scholarships many students receive do not cover all costs, and because student athletes are not allowed to receive financial benefits or hold a job, they often struggle to support themselves. For this reason, it is clear that student athletes are the ones who shape colleges, not the other way around. According to Forbes, the typical Division I college football player devotes 43.3 hours per week to their sport. That's 3.3 hours more than the typical American work week. Because of their tremendous dedication and the success they have on the field, major institutions like the University of Michigan, the University of Texas, and the University of Alabama bring in between $80 and $100 million in football-based revenue. In theory, this money will go back into the programs to create a better atmosphere for the athletes and to give them better facilities and opportunities during their college career. However, costs to run the programs fall between $30 and $40 million, with the remaining revenue being put into academic advancements to recruit prospective students. The only reason this money is available is because of the hard work of student athletes, and thus it is clear they are the ones who really shape colleges. Now, a common goal of all colleges is to prepare their students for quote-unquote the real world, for jobs and responsibilities. In the case of student athletes, however, this fact is directly contradicted through their policy on jobs while participating in sport. According to the NCAA, athletes are not permitted to hold a job with a salary over $2,000 a year. $2,000 a year. Who can live on $2,000 a year? In reality, this is extremely frugal on their part, and also unrealistic, being that no person could live on that $2,000. If colleges are really shaping their students, wouldn't they allow them to have a job for experience in the real world? Now, colleges not only compromise student athletes' ability to have jobs, but they also compromise their education, which is supposed to be the cornerstone of their time in college. Forbes writes that Syracuse's road to the 2014 NCAA Men's Basketball Championship cost players 17 days of class, 24.2% of the overall semester. Students don't go to class, against the NCAA's motto of being students before athletes. By not attending class, it takes away from the ability for students to perform academically, which can affect their ability to earn money later in life. The frightening thing is that everyone knows these issues are out there. We all know that amateur sports is a business, yet no one knows why things don't change. No one knows why colleges continue to use the funds from athletics to support academics, even though their track record clearly shows that athletics comes first. Athletics always comes first. The colleges mask this by stressing academics first and using athletic revenue to support academics. In order to moralize this situation, those in charge of these schools trick themselves into thinking what they are doing is right. But actually, it is severely unfair to those who devote their college life to athletics, the student athletes themselves. Recently, college football players at Northwestern have voted on whether to unionize in order to make their voice heard to the school. What could normally be thought of as a sound and serious step of progress in terms of students working together despite obvious differences to achieve their goals was instead met by a large resistance from the NCAA and the university itself. Truly, it took years to get the topic to a vote among the players, as it was caught up by blocks and vetoes from school boards and officials. When the vote finally occurred, it is thought that it will be years before the results are made public, as the amount of appeals made by both sides is bound to be endless. Instead of support for a student-run organization, the football team received criticism for the simple fact that both the NCAA and Northwestern knew that it would take away their power and also their revenue. The NCAA had to do whatever it could to crush talk of unions so that it would not spread to other colleges. The frightening part of this whole situation is that this seems more like unionizing for rights in the early 20th century in jobs and factories than unionizing for a voice in a school's affairs. The same principles that kept people oppressed then continue to this very day in all types of situations. The world, the NCAA, and the colleges revolve around one thing: money. Besides what colleges don't do for student athletes, it is what these colleges do that shows how significant an impact they have on colleges. The most striking example of this comes from a tremendous basketball player by the name of Patrick Ewing, who was the first pick in the NBA draft in 1983. Before a successful professional career, Ewing was the cornerstone of the Georgetown men's basketball team. In fact, his performance during the 82-83 NCAA season helped generate a 47% increase in undergraduate applications. 47%! And a 40-point rise in freshman SAT scores the following admissions cycle at Georgetown. Not only did he double admissions, he also single-handedly brought in money for the institution and shaped Georgetown into one of the top colleges in the entire world. When people say that sports don't matter to the most elite universities, remember this stat, and know that sports are the reason that schools are truly elite. Student athletes shape colleges. They deserve more respect in their efforts to make their voice heard and secure a piece of the huge sum of money from college athletics. The lack of college support for athletes and the tremendous returns they make off of student athletes are all reasons why the system is truly corrupt. Change needs to happen, but can change really happen? Money is always money. Nobody will want to let it go. So what could ever change?